Hello and welcome to the A-League UK 2025-26 Isuzu UTE A-League season preview combined with round one preview. My name is Craig Thompson and I write for A-League UK, which you can find at aleagueuk.co.uk. Links, of course, will be in the description down below. This season, we're going to do things a little bit differently and publish our round previews and reviews here on YouTube instead of the written articles that we normally do. We'll still feature a usual sort of team of the week in the traditional form, our 5 conclusions columns, which are really fun, where we look back at one of the games of the A-League round and we follow an MLS team through their year. This time we've been really lucky. It's been Charlotte FC as they gear up for the MLS Cup playoffs with Wilfred Zaha up front. There will be an assortment of articles, but we're going to give the spoken word a go this season. The format is basically me and a notepad, so if I go off on a tangent, that's probably why. And this season, once again, for all A-League fixtures, they will be broadcast in the UK on TNT Sports or Discovery Plus for those watching on mobiles. We begin with Adelaide United, alphabetical order. Last season, of course, finished in 6th place, just made it into the final series where they lost to Western United. More on them later in the elimination final. Carl Vert has been replaced by his former assistant Ayrton Andrioli, promoting from within as Vert himself was. Nothing much to write home about in Andrioli's playing career, but he did coach the Solomon Islands from 2005 to 2010. Nice work if you can get it. Vert is now Australia's under-17 coach with the Joeys. And the big news is the return of Craig Goodwin to the City of Churches, one of the Reds' all-time greatest players and leading goalscorer with 60 in all competitions. 33 years old now, still got miles left on the clock. It's his 4th spell at Cooper Stadium, and it'll be crucial to Adelaide retaining their top 6 place. Adelaide begin the 25-26 campaign in round 1 with a home tie against Sydney FC in the season opener, kicking off at 9 a.m. on Friday morning. Auckland, of course, were first last season. They were premiers with 53 points lost to Melbourne Victory in the semi-finals. And as a side from the Oceania Federation, the Port can't qualify for continental competition, despite that table-topping success last year. And that was based on the recruitment. They got it right in terms of the coach, Steve Corica. Bimby, exactly the right choice. Overseas players, Hiroki Sakai, Louis Verstraete, and Nader Moreno. Not to mention the Kiwi internationals like Francis de Vries, Nando Pijnaker, and Alex Paulson in on loan from Bournemouth. The old adage, build when you're strong, and Auckland have had to replace key players like Paulson and Moreno. All eyes will be on Ollie Sale and the former Aberdeen and Barnsley striker, Sam Cosgrove. The reigning premiers take on Melbourne Victory in a final series rematch in their first game, their Amy Park, for a 9:35 a.m. kickoff on Saturday. Now, there was an element towards last season of sides working Auckland out. Certainly Victory did in the finals, so it'll be interesting to see how Steve Corica shakes things up for the Port this year. Brisbane Roar have brought in Michael Valkanis to replace Ruben Zadkovic, the one-time former Australian international. Played for Adelaide United during his playing days, and has since coached the likes of Melbourne Victory in 2017, and over in Belgium, Israel, and Turkey. The Roar have brought in 12 players, no surprise considering how things went last year. 13 have left, including some real mainstays like Corey Brown and Jack Hingert. A lot will depend on how they gel in the early rounds. They need to hit the ground running and build some momentum, especially at home. That chance comes early on. Brisbane start against MacArthur at Suncorp Stadium. A chance to lay a marker down and get some points on the board. Kick off in that game at 11:05 on Friday. Central Coast Mariners, they were 10th last year, and only 3 players remain of their 2024 Grand Final starting 11. Christian Theoharis, Brad Tapp and Storm Roux. Big concern for me falling back into the pattern of just making up the numbers. Mark Jackson in recent days has now left for Buriram United in Thailand just a week before the start of the season. But they have an experienced coach in Warren Moon stepping in as manager. It's an F3 derby to begin the year for the Mariners. They host Newcastle Jets in Gosford with kickoff at an eye-watering time of 5 a.m. on Sunday for our UK viewers. MacArthur, the Bulls were 8th last year and fell off massively. 2024 FFA Cup winners did earn themselves a berth in the Asian Champions League 2. They play Caen away, Cahn, yeah, Thursday afternoon in the group stage. The departure of big names last season really rocked them, and that continued in the off-season with Marin Yaklish heading to Armenia. They've brought in a variety of players, experienced A-League campaigners like Anthony Caceres, and somebody like Rafael Duran, who has never represented a club outside of Mexico. The most fun pair of transfers this season has to be Daniel Da Silva leaving the Bulls and former Melbourne Victory defender Damien Da Silva signing. MacArthur begin the season at Brisbane in the second game on Friday. Melbourne City, of course, were champions. They were second in the Premier's Plate standings with 48 points, went on to win the final series, the grand final against rivals Melbourne Victory. They qualified for the Asian Champions League Elite and play Buriram United, previously mentioned with Mark Jackson, in the AFC Champions League Elite League phase. Can we get more names in there? On Tuesday morning for UK viewers. City have been fairly frugal in their recruitment, not like them. Normally like to bring in a big name or two. Stephen Ugarkovic has moved on to Western Sydney. Marco Tilio now with Rapid Vienna. Liam Bonnetig has signed from Celtic, along with Japanese forward Takeshi Kanamori. In the first of 3 A-League games on Saturday, the Citizens host Western Sydney Wanderers in a game that probably will tell us a lot about what to expect for the season ahead. Kickoff at Combank Stadium is at 7 a.m. As far as Melbourne Victory concerned, the losing team in last year's grand final, Juan Mata is the big statement signing from the team that lost to their rivals in City, poaching the former Manchester United star from Western Sydney Wanderers. He's a big name, wasn't fit for the majority of last season. Will he play more minutes this year? I hope so, because he's an amazing player. The Big V take on Premiers Auckland in their first game of the season on Saturday. Newcastle Jets have seen Rob Stanton depart. Mark Milligan, vastly experienced Socceroos international, has come in. They have been FFA Cup winners in the last month. And really key for them has been keeping the hold of the likes of Eli Adams, Clayton Taylor, adding Max Burgess, who's got a big point to prove into the mix. The issue for me remains the defence and the amount of goals they're going to ship over the season. The Jets have an F3 derby to look forward to on Sunday. They face the Mariners in a clash that Newcastle are probably favourites for, and that's not something that's been said often in the last few years. Now, of all A-League sides, Perth Glory needed reinforcements, and they have signed a slew of new players. There's a lot of quality that's come in. The likes of Mark Birighitti, that's a great signing. Scott Wooten, Sam Sutton over from Wellington Phoenix. Brian Kaltak, I think he's as solid as anybody in defence. Reece Bozanovsky and Gabriel Popovic have got experience. A lot of dead wood has been discarded. Jay Pearman, the exception to that, he signed for QPR, of course, here in the UK. It's going to be a big test for David Zrilic, but holding on to Adam Taggart must have been number one priority, and they've achieved that. First game of the season is Saturday's third fixture. They host Wellington Phoenix in an 11:45 a.m. kickoff. If Perth's season was disappointing, Sydney FC's was probably worse because they should have been up there with the squad that they had. It was really disappointing 2024-25 under Ufuk Talay, resulted in the Blues missing out on finals football for just the second time in 9 seasons. Now, much like when they missed out previously in 2022, the Sydney board have kept faith with their manager, as they did with Steve Corica then. And as always, the name Sydney FC will attract quality players, not to mention those domestically, like Ben Garuccio. I think he's a good signing as well. They've lost some huge names in Leo Senna, Adrian Segetic, Andrew Redmayne, and Douglas Costa, but Abba Wallati and Al Hassan Toure look to be good business. The Sky Blues get the season underway at Adelaide on Friday. Regarding Wellington Phoenix, 11th last season, just 24 points. How Giancarlo Italiano is still in a job is a strange one, and I don't like to see managers sacked. Really poor last season, and their recruitment hasn't set the world alight. Nikola Miljusnic, Rami Najarine, Carlo Armiento, they're not Costa Barbaricious. I feel like Wellington hopes will be pinned on Ifeanyi Eze, with Corbin Piper again looking like the Knicks' standout player. I can't see Chiefy seeing out the season at Sky Stadium. Last year, Costa pretty much did it all on his own. He's feeding on scraps for a lot of the season. But as mentioned, the Knicks visit Perth Glory in a winnable game at HBF Park on Saturday. It's another one that will demonstrate what's going to happen for the season to come, I suspect. Western Sydney Wanderers have optimism. 4th last season, 46 points. They lost to Melbourne Victory in the elimination final. But in Stadge we trust. For the Wanderers, it's a case of building on the good form and the positive performances from last season. They've had some really effective recruitment, including Costa Barbaricious and Angus Thurgate, who was, I think, Western United's best player last year. There's no tougher game than the reigning champions. That's the task ahead for the Red and Black on Saturday when they host Melbourne City in Parramatta. For me, that's the standout tie of the round. Alan Stadgic's superb coach, and I think Western Sydney Wanderers will be up there in the season to come. The elephant in the room is Western United, who have been effectively stood down for the season while they get a chance to sort out their finances. The Green and Black have always been an entertaining side. They came into the comp with the likes of Besart Berisha, Alessandro Diamante, but even with Noah Botic and Hiroshi Ibasuki in the side last season, the 2022 A-League champions have had a feeling of being doomed from the start. We go back to the process of bringing in a new A-League side. Of course, themselves and MacArthur were brought in back then. There were other teams and other locations that seemed perhaps more applicable, more welcoming to the A-League. Sharing stadiums while endlessly promising their own, a fan base that exists in its hundreds, not thousands. The truth is that Western United probably did well to survive until now, and the fact that they were A-League champions is, to their credit. We'll see what happens with them through the season to come. Of the 5 top goal scorers from last season, none remain in the Isuzu UTE A-League. Archie Goodwin has moved to the MLS with Charlotte FC, a team that we follow on A-LeagueUK. That's been really fun to see him starting to get some minutes as he has effectively replaced Patrick Adjamang, who came over to Derby County here in the UK. Adrian Segesic is part of the Australian Revolution at Portsmouth. Noah Botic now turns out for Austria Vienna. Nicholas Milanovic, of course, earned a move to Aberdeen up in Scotland. And Patrick Klamala's loan at Sydney FC ended. He has since joined FC Seoul in South Korea. You have to go down to joint 6th place, the goal scorers there for those remaining in the A-League. Having scored 10 last year, Costa Barbaricious has added a Western Sydney Wanderers tracksuit to his collection, and Adam Taggart will once again represent Perth Glory. Now, do follow us on social media on X, formerly known as Twitter. We are at A-LeagueUK. And of course, here on YouTube, so do subscribe for notifications. The schedule currently is to release our previews on Thursday at 7 p.m. and our round rundowns on Monday, also at 7 p.m. UK time. So thank you and enjoy the games this weekend.